Wendy Capewell, a counsellor and psychotherapist. On a daily basis, I talk to people who feel they're the only ones struggling with the issues they share with me. So each of my guests have their story to share, whether it's about themselves or in their relationships, in the hope that you feel it's not just you. My guest today is Lillian Victoria, and she is a peak performance coach and an entertainment professional, which is quite an interesting one, quite a mixture as well. So please, Lillian, please introduce yourself and tell us more about what this is all about.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Wendy. Yes, I am a peak performance coach with entertainment experience. I've actually worked in entertainment for as long as I remember since college. I majored in film. And, you know, and finally, I decided that, I wanted to do what I wanted to do, right? And I got into coaching because at one point in my life, I was thinking I lost that desire. Entertainment is a very fun and fancy job, but when you lose a desire, even when you lose a desire, it becomes a day to day. So when I started to look for a purpose in life, I was like, what do I want to do? What can I do? And I've always loved personal development. All the books I've ever spent my own money to buy on my own will, not for school, not for work, it's always been personal development. So that's when I got into the peak performance, and I love it. So that's what I do. I work with people around the world, um, entrepreneurs, a lot of mompreneurs, because I'm a mom myself, on really, taking our ideas and making it into reality. So that's what I do.
So you've always been interested in self-development. I'm going to ask you why. What got you thinking, I want to be more, I want to work on my desires? What was it? Because there's always going to be a spark somewhere, or that moment where you go, yeah, but I'm not happy with life as I am, or there's been an event or a series of events, or the way our lives are going. So what was it?
For me, I would always watch these videos on YouTube because it gave me a sense of hope. There was at one point in my life, I had no idea what was going to happen. I feel like I hit a roadblock.
Really?
And that's when the coaching really helped me move forward. On top of that, I used to be in management positions as well. And when you have a team of people and you're trying to get their performance up, I would be like, hey, read Earl Nightingale. Hey, Tony Robbins did this. But I would do it not knowing I was doing it. It was just to encourage people, right? But the biggest thing for me, the reason why I fell into this, because it inspires me and gives me hope, especially when I hear people's story. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be here forever. Life is not happening to me. It's actually happening for me. I'm going through something, but I don't know, you know, and every time I listen to any of these, Joel Osteen, Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Mel Robbins, like you name it, all these people, um, it, it moves me forward even 1%, just learning. And I think that's where it is. When we're growing as human beings, when we are growing, we feel more alive versus not doing anything and sitting there and wondering and feeling stuck. Then I feel dead. Spiritually, I feel dead. Right? So that's how I fell in love with it. And on top of that, I didn't grow up with, a good family. I didn't have a mentor growing up. I had to figure everything on my own. So that's why how I came across is media. I watched TVs growing up. Everything that was on TV, I've learned. Now, whether they're good content, bad content, as a kid, you don't know. You just learn whatever's on TV, right? So the beauty of it is we live in an age where you actually have a search engine now, and I can start looking, and it's always been, you know, something like The Secret, right? Like there's something more. The universe has got you. There's no way I'm gonna get lost. So that's how.
I'm just thinking when your whole world is, you believe your world is about the media, and then, and it's what you see on TV. That's a very kind of distorted view. We're either going to see everything's wonderful and everybody else's life is wonderful, or we're going to see the world as a frightening, scary place. Because there doesn't seem to be very much in between. We're either going to see crime stories or murder or documentaries about frightening things or worrying things, or you're going to see this amazing family where everything is just wonderful and their lives are wonderful. So it's quite distorted when we watch TV.
And for a little girl that didn't, I never grew up with a dad, raised by a single mom. The only thing I wanted was a family of my own, because I really didn't have any of that. You know, we didn't go on to family vacations. My mom hardly attended school activities. She's so busy being stressed out. And then the thing with on TV, guess what? I like every girl, I like to watch princess movies. So I was yearning and looking forward to that happily ever after marriage of my own.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then I think that that kind of image of that happy marriage, that can be quite distorted as well, because we just see a vision of it's just what we see on television, and it's either going to be the families that are always at war or the families where everything is wonderful. I remember, especially when my girls were little, it was Little House on the Prairie or the Waltons, and they all seemed to be idyllic. They had idyllic lives,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's not true reality, is it?
No, actually, what I've learned going through my marriage is I always eat before it's a fantasy. It's something that I want, and I did get it. But after being in a marriage, I realized so many things. First of all, I have to continue to work on myself. Happiness cannot be dependent on the other person. Second of all, when you get married, it's still a lot of work. It does not stop. Actually, I believe it's even more work, especially if you have children,
Mm.
right? Children, communication, and the most important thing is growing together. But I would say the biggest thing I learned, and I consistently share this information with everyone, is if you're not happy in the marriage, don't blame it on the other person. You have to find a healthy marriage is being able to have happiness within yourself from both parties. Because if we're dependent on the other person, it becomes codependent. That means there's something that is broken inside, and that's something that I've experienced, right? Like I could blame people about, oh, my marriage didn't work because he is XYZ, or I could take a look at myself like, hey, I actually walked into this marriage. I had a choice.
Mhm.
I didn't have the awareness, but I made that decision. And I walked into this marriage as a broken person myself. So I have went through a divorce and it was very painful, but we're amicable now. But the thing is, when you walk out from it, it's having that gratitude. It's having that, hey, I've shared 15 years with this person and everything is meant to be at the time. That's where the resistance went away. Because I tried really hard to hold on to something that wasn't working because I held on to that happily ever after image. Because
Yeah.
I was scared. I was scared of being on my own. I was scared of this idea of being a single mom because the only single mom experience I had was so traumatic from my mom.
Yeah.
But to realize that, hey, I could change all of that. I am not my mother. I do not, it's not the 90s anymore.
Mm.
Right? We live in 2020s. There's opportunities everywhere. And even this idea, when I got a divorce, I was 35 years old. And how I grew up is like my culture and how I was taught and the people around me is like, oh my gosh, you're old, you're a single mom. And then I didn't have a desire, and at the time I was very burnt out by entertainment. I was like, what am I gonna do? Go back to school, get my MBA? I'm so old. Like, all this like noise were in my head. And
Mm.
these noise, they amplify, but then to completely change, the shift came was like, hey, actually, this is not the end. This is just the beginning. It's a great opportunity for me to wipe everything clean, to look at the life that I want to live on my terms now, and not living in fear, because my whole life I was driven in fear. And
Right.
to start to take those actions and move it forward, right? And that takes a lot of courage and being vulnerable to,
Absolutely.
right, vulnerable to what people will think about you, which really doesn't matter. Vulnerable to, really, for me, was really looking at myself. Who am I? And in fact, that was the answer that was awakening. It's like, Lillian, who are you? I could not answer it at the time.
No.
That's my job.
No. Yeah. And that's a very common one that I hear. And I think there was a point, well, there was a point in my life when I just stopped and said, who am I? Because I was I was being a people pleaser, and I lost myself. And I think we can, as you said so rightly, say, we get lost trying to be what we think other people want us to be, or trying to conform, or what we feel we should be doing, and we lose ourselves. Yeah, such a
And especially now, one thing I really realized for myself that was very toxic and working in entertainment was my identity was my work.
yes.
It was what am I working on? What projects am I working on? What connections and relations do I have? Right?
Mm,
And I didn't like that, because then what happens is I get stuck in a rat race, and that's a lot of people, especially the ones in the big cities.
mm,
And then I realized my friends are not my friends. My friends are my business connections. Then then who am I? And why do I care about what people think? And I know we had this long conversation about really, growing up and caring so much about what people think about us, but I want to share, it is extremely liberating when you could actually list out who you are, when there is a purpose that's tied into your life, and that you have such a desire, and nothing matters anymore. Meaning, what other people say don't matter, because I am so focused. Everything I'm doing is anchored on my vision and my goal. You can say creation, like what I am creating in my life. That's when all the other stuff become very minimized. Before, when I get a job or get recruited, whatever, it's the money, right? You negotiate the money and the package and all that. But now, while money is important, right? It circulates in our life, and it provides. When you have a big purpose in life, that's when you'll wake up. It's 4:30 a.m. my time right now, and I'm so excited to be here. But this is when you'll jump up, you'll get ready, and it's not about the money, because you just
yeah.
trust everything will come. But it's about, how do we get out there to do the work that we're called to do, right?
Hmm.
That's the biggest difference.
Right. So it
Yeah.
seems like there's been a huge shift for you. Um, um,
And I'm still working on myself.
I would say it's a lifelong journey.
Yes,
I
we're
don't think we
always.
ever stop. No, I agree.
And I always love sharing about this because there's so many amazing teachers out there, right? But even them, they're going through this growth process. And I love sharing about this because I know we live in this society where there's very high demand, everything is very fast, and a lot of people are hard on themselves. I was my biggest enemy, not anyone else, it was me, right?
Mm,
That judgment, that criticism. But then to understand, actually, we're always growing. I love what you said. It's a lifelong process.
yeah.
It doesn't stop. So it's okay. It's okay to, go through these, I call it the growth sprouts now, these experiences that we have to go through to grow. Some of them may be painful, right?
Mm.
But then there's always at the light at the end of the tunnel. Actually, I like to say this. I remember there was one point when I was going through my divorce. I had no idea what was going to happen. I made this big post. I was like, I am tired. That's my hero moment. I am tired of waiting at the light at the end of the tunnel. I am gonna light this up myself. like, but that is a defining moment, and it's very powerful because we are in control of how we feel. We don't have to stay behind. And I realize these action takes one, as long as you take one action a day to move it forward. One action. You're
I
still
was,
moving forward,
yeah, I was going to ask you for one thing that people could take away with themselves. And I think that's a really, really good one. Just
right?
take one action a day to move
Yeah.
yourself slowly forward. And I just like to add to it is that sometimes I notice with people that because they're so focused on the negative, they forget to notice the positives. And
That's what, yeah, go on.
and it is that. And if I point out, well, you did that or that happened, and they look at me, oh, that didn't seem much. So they negate anything that was really good. They negate those good feelings. And that doesn't take us anywhere, does it?
No, that's why gratitude is so powerful. Every time I feel that way, I actually take a paper out and I write out the gratitudes. Meaning, what are my small wins here? Like, really, what are my small wins here? And when you write it out and you see and you read it, a shift happens. I have to do that especially because I grew up with a very traumatic childhood. I have grew up with a single parent. I have experienced sexual abuse when I was a kid. I didn't even know what was going on. And because of that, and I didn't have the tools to work on myself or the awareness, I walked into a marriage that became, toxic. But the beautiful thing is, all of that, finally, I was like, enough is enough. And I started to work on myself. So I already have my upbringing. I am fully aware I have this paradigm of being very harsh and negative. So for me and whoever can resonate with this, write down to have a habit, right? Celebrate the small wins. Hey, for me, I got up at 4 a.m. I made coffee. I had breakfast before I got into this podcast, right? All these
Yeah.
little things. And when it haunts me even more, if I feel not that feeling, you know what I do? I write it out. I'm vulnerable. I write down exactly how I feel. Like, oh, I don't feel good enough because of this. And then I write the complete opposite. I am feeling great because I'm going through a growth spout right now. And all of this is taking me to where I want to go, right? I just write the complete opposite. I'm not feeling good. The opposite, I'm feeling great. And then I burn the old. So whatever doesn't work, literally burn it because it's a mental exercise. You feel good.
Yeah.
The other part, the complete polar opposite, I keep it with me for that day and I just read it over and over. And you're gonna feel that shift and that energy shift. That's why they say gratitude is the antidote for fear and anxiety. Those two emotions really cannot coexist. So this is another tool that everyone can start using. I definitely use this on a daily matter because before you know it, the habit changes. any experience I go through, there's so much wins because instead of looking at, oh, this does not work, it's like, I've learned all of this through this
Yeah.
experience, right? So it's all
That's
attitude change.
that's amazing. Thank you for that. I've really enjoyed us talking today. It's been really, really
Thank you.
enlightening and uplifting as well. So what's one easy way that people can get in touch with you? Because I'll put all your details in the show notes, but an easy way that they can find out
Yeah.
more about you.
I think the easiest way is I am on Instagram and my handle is Lillian Victoria Official. So it's LILLIANVICTORIA official. That's it. DM me.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for today. It's been really an interesting chat. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you found this episode interesting as well as helpful. Do get in touch if you would like to learn more about working with me. My email address is info@wendycapewell.co.uk. Take good care of yourself. Until next time.